Alrighty, welcome back to the 1/6 Honda 750 racing bike from Tamiya. We are almost done with this project. See, I got the bike on the side here because I took the stand off to paint the stand. I just painted it. Actually, it's the same paint that I used to when I rebuilt my lathe. It's called Machinery Gray. I just thought if I did black, then it would blend in with the frame too much. And so I just thought that was a nice color for the stand for that. So that's why this is on its side now. But the next and last thing I really need to do, other than mounting the tank and the body fairing, is the seat. And as I said in the last video, I want to do the seat with leather. And I'm not really positive exactly how I'm going to do it. I've got a couple of ideas. I'm going to try both ideas and just see which way looks better. And the first way I'm going to try, I'm actually going to copy an idea. I don't know, if you saw my last Poacher Mercedes build. For that build, the seats came from, they were an upgrade set from Model Motor Cars, and basically they were just seats cast out of resin, and you just covered those with the leather. The only thing I don't like about that is when you touch them, they feel hard. There's no cushiness to them. There's no padding to it. But they look nice. So I'm going to copy that idea. Now, I don't want to do anything with these because I don't want to damage these. Just in case my leather idea doesn't work, I can still use these as a last resort. So I don't want to just glue the leather on this because, for one, it would damage this, and for two, it would be a little bit too big then. So what I did was I cut out a piece of plastic. I think this is styrene. This is actually 3 layers. This is a single layer of it, and I just cut out and stacked 3 layers. So that is the same thickness as the original seat, but I made it to where it's just a little bit smaller around the perimeter. That way when I put the edge leather on, it doesn't make it too wide. And so once I cut that shape out, I then just went through with a saw and I cut those grooves in it. So when I put the leather on it, I will basically, I'll just put glue CA in the groove, put the leather down, and then I'll just press that leather into that groove, and then that will make that kind of a pattern, that kind of a design. And also, I said in the last video that the leather has a nice, like a shiny surface and then a fuzzy surface. When I look at photos of the real bike, the seat looks like it has the fuzzy surface on the outside. So I'm going to start by gluing this leather on here and then trimming around, and then I can take a strip and go around the outside edge. And that should look okay, that should look nice, but the only thing to do is to try it and see how it comes out. I'm going to use I'm just going to put a little bit of CA here. And I'm just going to use a Q-tip that I cut the end off, and we'll just get a little bit on here, and we'll just put it right in that center groove. And just press that leather down. Now the other idea that I have to make the seat will actually be using padding, which is ideally what I would want, but I don't know how it's going to end up looking when that's done. So that's why I'm just going to do both ways, and I'll use whichever seat looks the best. Alright, and there's what that looks like so far. I don't know how well you can really see it with the lighting. And then the next step is just to put an edge all the way around it. And then hopefully that'll make that cut edge look a little bit neater. A little bit of plastic dust in there. That's a problem with a fuzzy edge, is that it collects dust a little bit more than the other edge. But I'm going to have to take a brush or something and kind of dust all that stuff off of there. But let me get an edge around there and we'll see what it looks like. So again, just gluing that around, just applying a little bit of CA and then wrapping it around. That's what it's looking like. All right, so there's that one next to the plastic one. All right, so as we just said, this is the one that I just did, and it looks okay. You know, if you put it on the bike, you know, it goes about right there. If you put it on the bike, you know, it looks pretty good. Compared to reference photos of the actual bike, it looks pretty good. But I want to see if I can do it differently, maybe. I want to try a different way and see if that works better. So this was just starting a little practice piece. And basically this was just taking skinnier strips and folding the edges around, you know, folding the edges around this way, and then gluing them together on a piece of pad, and then I could put a piece around the edge that way. And this is coming out okay, so I'm going to try for real this way now. So I took a longer strip of that leather, and I ran a piece of tape down the middle, which is about the width that I want, and then tape this way, and that tape holds this straight, and it provides like a hinge to fold for when I glue that over. But I just need to cut this, so basically cut that tape in half, and then on the other side, so that way when I fold those around, hopefully they kind of meet in the middle, and it'll give me a long strip that I can then cut up. It'll make more sense when I do it, I hope. All right, so now when I put glue on the back, I should be able to fold those back this way. And then that will give me, yeah, let's just do it. And of course now I got a bunch of glue on my fingers, but that is what I was looking for. And so now I can just peel this tape off. All right. So that gives me that. So now what I need to do is cut out. See, that'll give me each of those. So I need to cut out pieces. Hopefully this one was long enough. It doesn't look like it will be. Of course, it's not going to be. I need one more piece. All right, let me make one more piece, and then what we'll do is we'll glue all those together. We'll glue all this together on a piece of this foam padding here, and then we'll cut out the right shape. All right, so there's our pieces, and so now I'm just going to cut out a piece of this foam, and it's bigger than I need, which is fine. And we're just going to glue those on here. All right, so there's that. Now I need to make a template for the right shape and put it on there and then cut out the shape, and then I can put an edge around it. But so far I think that's looking like it'll work. So for the template here, I think I'll just try put some masking tape on here, and I'm just going to follow the edge around there with an X-Acto blade. So there's my template. We'll just peel that off. And we'll stick it on here. All right, we'll cut that out. All right, it's kind of hard to get it right up to the tape. That leather and the foam together is kind of hard to cut, but I think once we get an edge on it, it'll look all right, I hope. But I can already see an issue. Let me put an edge on it, see what it looks like. Of course, that I have left over is way too short, so I got to cut another piece. All right, so here's what that one looks like, and I'm not really liking it. I mean, it's not bad. It's not terrible, but you can kind of see some gaps in there. I think probably what I should have done is just put down a single layer of the leather first and then put those on. But regardless, cutting out the shape, it was kind of hard cutting without it wanting to just peel it off from how I glued it. And so it ended up too big. Comparing that to the other one, or even comparing it to the kit one, it just looked, it's way too big. Now I could possibly try again, but the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking this one just looks better anyways. I think the way I did this one just looks better than the way I did this one, which I was kind of hoping for the opposite, because this is actually padded. You know, this actually feels softer and padded because that's just on hard plastic. But the thing is, I should go with what looks better, because this is going to be like on display, maybe in a cabinet or a glass case around it or something. Nobody's going to be like feeling it and poking it and prodding it, and so it shouldn't matter what it feels like. It should matter, what it looks like. So I think this one looks better. I'm going to leave the process of how I did this in the video, even though, I'm not going to consider this a failure. I'm going to consider the way I did it not succeeding. But you might like the way I did this. And if any of you like the way I did this, and if any of you like this, then, by all means, if this was useful for somebody, if you could get something out of this process to make a padded seat, then you can use that. So I'm going to leave this in a video just in case it's useful for somebody. But for me, this is better. This looks better, so I'm going to use this. So the next step for me then is to make this back piece. So I'm going to do the same thing for the back piece, and then we'll attach it. We'll attach it to that, and then we'll put it on the bike, and the bike will pretty much be done. I still got to put the windshield on and the fairing on, but that won't take more than just a couple of minutes. So let me make the next piece for the seat, and we'll get the seats put together, and then we'll get the bike done. So give me a few minutes, and we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you when it's time to do that. Oh, and I'll paint that flat black, because that'll probably be visible if you look up under the bike. So that'll be painted flat black, just so it doesn't look so ugly there. But let me get the seat done, and we'll get back with you here in just a few minutes. Alrighty, so I've got the seat back done, and I've got it attached to the back part of the seat. And when I look at pictures of the actual bike, there are, I don't know if they're rivets or what they are, but there are metal details holding that back leather piece on. So I basically just drilled through the plastic, and I used, remember these things, I got a whole bag of these that I was going to make the spokes out of, and but they came in useful for this. So I just drilled in a little bit and cut a little piece off and stuck it in the hole. And so that adds those details. Also, I added some more realistic bolt details here. The kit the kit came with these, if that would focus. Those were molded in the orange plastic, and I painted them silver. Those were supposed to get glued in there, but instead I took some 080 bolts and some washers and just kind of cut the head off so it would go in there and bond in instead of the painted plastic piece. I also drilled out the molded in bolt head here and just put in 080 bolt head in. Man, I wish that would focus better. But a real bolt head here and a bolt head and a washer here, and then metal pins here, just securing that back leather on. You can see how it's bonded in from the back side. And I did use solvent weld for this piece onto the styrene, but just for some added security, I put some CA in there. That's why it's all foggy. But what I'm going to do is, in a little bit, is I'll paint the inside of that flat black just to get rid of all the fogginess from the CA fumes. Now, when you look at the seat base, I added a plastic strip here that wedges in right here to lock that seat into position. Of course, it'll get glued in as well, but that just gives me a nice solid bonding point. And notice this brass tab that I glued on there as well. That will bond onto the backside of the seat there. And that's what will hold that in place at the correct angle. Because when you look at the kit seat, it is at an angle. They're not straight up and down. So I bent that brass piece to match that angle. And so that'll hold that on this way. And then that can get bonded on. Also, I got the windscreen bonded on, but the windscreen went on fairly decently. Slides in nicely. And then I bonded it in with the Super Gold Plus. This is fume free and will not fog up clear parts. It's not as strong as normal CA, but this won't fog up the clear parts. So all I have left to do is put the cowling on, put the seat on, and this thing is done. One thing I want to show you first real quick. On the model, they have you put a fuel vent line right here. And in the instructions, now they don't tell you where it goes, it just empties, it just opens up down there. It doesn't connect to anything, it's just a fuel vent. But on the instructions, they tell you to put a piece of tape on the side there to kind of tape it to the side of the tank. I didn't see any photos of the real bike with a piece of tape on the side of the tank, so I don't think I want to do that to this one. Maybe if I was building this for a customer, replicating his exact bike, and his bike had a piece of tape on it, then I would put the tape on it. But I'm going to leave the tape off. Now, in order to form that tube, because if you just bend the tubing, you know, it just wants to bend back, and you'll notice that's really rigid. Basically, what I did was I took a piece of that wire that I just showed you a little bit ago, and you can just slide that inside of the tube. Just slide that inside of the tube, and then you can bend it whatever shape you want, and it'll hold that shape. So without that wire in there, that would want to not sit where I want it to sit. So again, that will just go in to the tank, and I don't think I'm even going to glue it in. You know, gravity kind of just holds it there where it's supposed to be. So I'm not going to glue that in. But yeah, so as I was saying, let me put the body on and the seat, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the finished model. Alrighty, there it is, all put together and done. And I'll probably just take some still shots to put at the end of the video just to go through some different angles and stuff. But I am very happy with that, very proud of that. Now I just have to figure out what I want to do with it. I would love to put it on display somewhere and just enjoy it, but I really don't have a good place to do that. So I will probably, you know, I've been saying I'm going to put it on eBay. So I will probably put it on eBay. Still got to figure out how much I want to ask for it. Keeping in mind that it is out of production and vintage and rare. And I spent a ton of time on it, adding a ton of extra details For example, real hardware on the handlebar section there, moving clutch and brake handles, the throttle grip will twist, cable, an actual cable coming back to the brake mechanism, if that's going to focus. Somewhat kind of, but not really functional chain tensioner. And the pedal kind of actually moves. I say kind of because, you know, this stuff does move. It does work and function, but it's kind of fragile. I'm kind of on the fence about making movable parts on a model, because the more stuff you make that moves, the more stuff people are going to play with, and the more stuff is going to break. So even though it does technically all work and move, I kind of can't recommend actually moving it and playing with it, just because you risk breaking it. But that is it. A project I started 15 years ago, I now finally have done. And again, just in case you didn't watch previous videos, I put it on hold for a while because I didn't have the right tires. The original tires in the kit had some kind of a weird chemical reaction and were kind of melted. And I finally got the correct tires off of eBay, so I decided to pull it out of storage and finish it. So for all of you that watched the build videos of this, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the comments. And if you see this on eBay and you want it, happy bidding. Bid often and bid high. I'm joking. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to leave it with some still shots. And as always, until next time, thanks for watching.